Here's a psychological fact you're not ready for. If you're difficult to manipulate, you probably don't even know it. And by the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the exact psychological patterns that prove you have what experts call cognitive resistance, the mental armor that makes you immune to manipulation. These aren't just random traits. These are scientifically backed signals that your mind refuses to bend just because someone wants you to be different. And once you understand these signs, you're going to see why you act the way you do in your relationships, at work, and even with your family. You'll finally understand why some people find you intimidating, why others call you difficult, and why manipulators avoid you like the plague. But here's the catch. Most people who have these traits don't recognize them in themselves. So pay close attention, because what I'm about to share will either confirm what you already suspected about yourself, or it'll open your eyes to strengths you didn't know you had. Let's start with the first sign, and this one is absolutely critical. Sign number 1. You don't swallow anything just because. You never accept information without questioning it. And let me be clear, you don't do this to be rebellious. You don't do this to be contrary or difficult. You do it because your brain needs logic and coherence before it gives a yes. Your mind thinks, if something doesn't add up, I'm not accepting it. And this drives manipulative people absolutely crazy, because they need you to accept their arguments without filtering them. They need you to take things at face value. But if you analyze, doubt, ask questions, and review, they lose their power over you. Think about it. When was the last time someone tried to pressure you into something and you just didn't budge? That's not stubbornness. That's cognitive resistance in action. Sign number 2, you're not afraid to say no. Most people say yes out of fear. Fear of looking bad. Fear of conflict. Fear of guilt. But not you. You say no when something doesn't seem fair, when it doesn't serve you, or when it simply gives you bad vibes. And here's the psychological part that changes everything. Your brain has learned that your peace of mind is worth more than pleasing others. This single realization destroys any manipulation attempt based on social pressure. Manipulators rely on your need for approval. They rely on your discomfort with disappointing people. But when you've mastered the art of saying no without guilt, you become untouchable. Sign number 3. You detect inconsistencies in seconds. Someone says one thing but does another. They promise you something but don't follow through. They speak to you with affection, but their actions drain you. Most people don't notice these contradictions until it's too late. You do. Your mind registers patterns, compares behaviors. It detects changes in tone, intensity, or intention. And you don't even need to confront the person to know something's wrong. You just sense it. And that intuition, that's an extremely accurate anti-manipulation alarm system. Your brain is constantly running background checks on people's behavior. It's like having a built-in lie detector that most people don't have or don't trust. Now, before we get to the most powerful signs, the ones that really prove you're impossible to manipulate, I want to ask you something. If this video is resonating with you, if you're recognizing yourself in these signs, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is all about understanding human psychology, strengthening your mental resilience, and becoming the most authentic version of yourself. And drop a like on this video so it can reach someone who needs to hear this message today. Maybe someone who's been called difficult their whole life and never understood why. Maybe someone who's tired of being manipulated and needs to know they have the power to change that. And hey, if you have questions or want to share your own experience with manipulation, leave a comment below. I read every single one, and your story might help someone else who's going through the same thing. Alright, let's get back to it. Because what I'm about to share next, this is where it gets really interesting. Here comes the part that nobody wants to admit, but it's the absolute truth. Most people don't want you to think for yourself. They want you to be predictable. They want you to be compliant. They want you to say yes even when you don't want to. So when you don't fall for their manipulations, some people will call you difficult, harsh, or cold. But in reality, what's happening is they can't control you, and that terrifies them. Let me give you the next sign, and this one is painful for a lot of people to accept. Sign number 4. You don't depend emotionally on anyone. Manipulation works best on people who suffer from people-pleasing. on people who need approval, on people who are terrified of being alone. You don't fall into that category. You don't fall apart if someone walks away. You don't sacrifice your values to be liked. You don't sell yourself cheap for empty compliments. And here's something crucial to understand. Your emotional independence doesn't mean you don't love people. It means you don't need anyone to feel complete. And manipulative people hate that, because the moment you're emotionally self-sufficient, you take away their primary weapon, the threat of withdrawal, abandonment, or disapproval. Think about how powerful that is. When someone can't threaten you with loneliness, when they can't guilt you with, "You're going to lose me," when they can't bribe you with validation, what leverage do they have? None. Sign number 5. Your silence makes manipulators uncomfortable. There are people who try to provoke you so you'll react. They want you to lose control. They want you to justify yourself, explain your emotions so they can have them in their hands to use against you. But you don't do that. When something bothers you, you stay silent. You observe. You analyze. You wait. And that silence? For many people, it's unbearable. Because manipulation needs an emotional reaction. If you don't react, they have no power. This is psychological warfare at its finest, and you're winning without even engaging in the battle. Here's why all of this happens. There's a key psychological reason behind it all. Your brain prioritizes autonomy over approval. Your mind refuses to be controlled because it learned through experience, through pain, or through maturity, that emotional stability comes from within, not from outside. That's why you don't swallow excuses. That's why you don't give infinite second chances. That's why you don't allow someone to play with your emotions. And that's why you don't give away your time or energy without thinking it through. If this hurt you to hear, perfect. That means you just discovered something important about yourself or about someone in your life. Now here's the truth you've been avoiding. Being difficult to manipulate isn't luck. It's an acquired skill. And if you don't have it yet, you can develop it. If you want to break the cycle of allowing others to influence your behavior too much, start with this. Set clear boundaries, even if they make people uncomfortable. Discomfort is not your responsibility. Your peace is. Don't over-explain yourself. Manipulative people use your words against you. The more you justify, the more ammunition you give them. Listen more than you speak. Manipulation needs emotional noise. Your silence is your strength. Pause before responding. Time is your best shield. Never make decisions under pressure. Trust your intuitions. If something doesn't feel right, it isn't. Your gut is rarely wrong about people. And remember this above all else. True mental strength isn't about intimidating others. It's about not allowing anyone to control your mind. You don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to be confrontational. You just need to be unshakable in your values and clear about your boundaries. So let me ask you this. Did you recognize yourself in these signs? Are you someone who's been called difficult, stubborn, or cold when really you're just impossible to manipulate? If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, if it gave you permission to stop apologizing for your boundaries, then do 2 things for me. First, smash that like button so this message reaches someone who needs it more than you do. Someone who's been manipulated for years and doesn't even realize it. Someone who needs to know that being hard to manipulate isn't a flaw, it's a superpower. Second, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Because we're building a community of psychologically resilient people who refuse to be controlled, who think for themselves, and who protect their peace at all costs. And if you want an episode about how to detect manipulators in seconds, how to spot the red flags before they even get close to you, just ask for it in the comments below. Tell me what you want to learn next, and I'll make it happen. Remember, you are not difficult. You are not cold. You are not too much. You are simply someone who knows your worth and refuses to compromise it for anyone. And that, my friend, is something to be proud of. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay aware, and never let anyone dim your light.